Thank you for listening to the Weeknight Mysteries podcast. We're talking to you guys again, episode number 46. My name is Yuras. I am here with my co-host.
Rain, as always. Hello, everyone.
Hello. How are you today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
We're a little bit behind the podcast again. Hopefully not.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, not
I'm
really.
not sure when this will be able to be uploaded, but
I mean, tomorrow.
tomorrow you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, it's regular. I think it's regular scheduling. I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary, to be honest. We are gonna be talking about Lindsay Buziak case. It's, I would say, a well-known case, especially if you're from Canada. Lindsay was a 24-year-old Canadian real estate agent, and she has been murdered on February 2nd, 2008. She was murdered under strange circumstances. She was killed while she was showing a property in the suburb of Victoria, British Columbia. The suburb was called Saanich. And it's pretty obvious that Lindsay has been lured into this murder. And I think the big question when we look at this case is who killed Lindsay? Well, that's obviously the biggest question. But also, for me, a question is Lindsay, specifically Lindsay, targeted? Or is Lindsay just a random victim? What do you think?
That's a very good question, because recently we had this thing in Lithuania, right?
Oh my god. Yes.
It's practically... Okay, I think you have to tell this story.
I mean, we have a case in Lithuania. I don't know. I picked Lindsay's case not in connection to what we have here in...
But it's so similar. In a way.
In a way, yeah. We had, in Lithuania, we don't have like these... it's a small country, so we don't have a lot of these types of cases. But recently we had an individual in his 20s. He killed 2 women on the same day, and this was like several weeks ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Massive news here.
It's the biggest news in the country. And one of the women was his cousin, his own cousin. So he stabbed his own cousin to death. And on the same day, in the evening, he killed another woman. And this woman had no connection to him beforehand. He messaged this woman number 2 that he wants to rent an apartment. And it was a real estate agent, also 24, just like Lindsay. She was a 24-year-old female. She agreed with this guy that she's gonna show him an apartment for rent. And I think when they met up, he killed her. And then it took them like a couple of days to find this man. But he was caught, and it's pretty obvious that he is the killer at this point. So unlike Lindsay's case, there's a conclusion here in this Lithuanian case.
But there was another one, right? There was another one who stepped forward and claimed that that killer was messaging her as well, and she was also a real estate agent.
Yes, after the killings came about, and when they were still looking for this killer in Lithuania, a woman actually posted on Facebook, because, at this point, police released the suspect's name, because they were pretty certain who the killer was. A woman came out on Facebook and she posted screenshots of her conversations with this killer, suspected killer, let's put it this way, how he is also trying to see her apartment for rent. And the interesting thing is that this woman, who posted on Facebook, she was actually the one chasing him. Like, oh, are you still available today? Are you here? She even,
Understandably so. It's like a regular thing for them.
yeah, she even called this guy on the phone. She made a phone call to this guy, but this guy ignored her and never picked her up. So it's kind of crazy to think that this woman was, in a way, chasing her own death. She was chasing her own murder. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this guy wasn't looking to rent anything.
Definitely not.
He looked like he was, and to kind of paint a better picture, this is a very recent case in Lithuania. I think they're trying to evaluate if this man is even sane, mentally sane. So that they're trying to question if he understood what he was doing.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because that's the reason why you sent me a link of this case, and my first thought is like, oh my gosh, is this the reason why you picked this case? Because it's like awfully similar to the
No.
one we have here.
In fact, not at all. I had Lindsay's case in my notes for a long time. So this is definitely not why we're talking about Lindsay's case today. It's just a very crazy coincidence that something like that happened in Lithuania.
Yeah, and to Lindsay, actually, I'm gonna sound pretty bad here, but I just hate the fact that women have to do open houses. I feel like it's too unsafe because some customers might be massive and are killers. I feel like there has to be some sort of like better protection with them.
To be honest, this is a really, if for a killer, a serial killer who wants to just kill someone for the thrill of killing, it seems like this is the perfect setup.
Right? It's really scary.
Because you basically put yourself alone in a house with one woman. And even
Yeah.
if there's multiple people there on the showing, then you don't have to commit to the killing. You could just back out of it. You could
Yeah.
you could pretend that, oh, you really looked around and you were really interested, and then it's on to the next one. I don't know how common this is. Like, how common is it to kill a real estate agent as they're showing you the apartment?
But it's terrifying. It's terrifying indeed.
Man, if I was a real estate agent after what happened here in Lithuania, after reading what happened to Lindsay,
I would be terrified.
I would be pretty spooked out.
I'd be like, hi, do you have a guy that I could bring with me? I know it sounds terrible, but at least at this point, I just feel like it's so scary for a woman to be a real estate agent.
Maybe some of our listeners do this type of job, and they could
Be safe, be careful.
or they could tell us their
Experiences.
their horror stories.
And please always be safe, bring tasers with you or whatever.
Yep. So let's talk about Lindsay's case.
Yes,
This is
please.
why we're here today. I'm pretty sure not most, but I would say most of the true crime enthusiasts are already aware about this case, especially if you're from Canada. I know we have a pretty good portion of our listeners actually come from Canada. So I know that like some of you guys might be already familiar with the details. So let me just quickly tell you the details, the story, and then let's talk about some things that we found when we looked at the case. I found some stuff. I think Rain found some stuff. So that's gonna be after we talk about the story. So Lindsay Buziak, she was 24. She's a Canadian real estate agent. As I've said, she was murdered on February 2nd, 2008. It was a Saturday. She was murdered in the afternoon around 5:40 p.m. that day. She was showing a property to a prospective buyers who pretended to be interested in buying the house. It was an expensive house, $1 million Canadian dollar house in the suburbs of British Columbia, Victoria. And seems like they killed Lindsay shortly after the showing commenced. Lindsay, she was born to Jeff and Evelyn. These are her parents. She also has a sister called Sarah. In 2008, Lindsay was 24, and she was an ambitious real estate agent. Her family described her as a popular and caring woman. She was also dating a guy named Jason Zylo. Jason Zylo is also a real estate agent, and he is, from what Wikipedia describes as a prominent and wealthy real estate family. As I was uncovering more information about it, I'm not really sure how wealthy these people are. I think they're definitely well off, but I'm not sure if we're talking about like 100 million net worth type of people, because they look like they were still like real estate agents. But apparently they were pretty good ones, you know. And if you sell a lot of homes, you probably get a lot of commissions. So
Yeah.
that's how it works. In late January of 2008, Lindsay receives a phone call from a woman. This woman is weird because she speaks in a Mexican Spanish type accent. Lindsay even described it as a broken accent or something like that. So we don't really know if this woman who called Lindsay is actually a native Spanish speaker, or was she just pretending to speak Spanish on the phone call.
Wouldn't you think that Lindsay probably would have, I don't know, sensed it if it was a fake accent?
I'm not really sure, but when Lindsay wrote down the details of this call, she called them the Mexicans.
Okay.
What
No,
is
I'm just curious if they were actually like from a Spanish speaking country, or they were like Australians pretending to be like. How good do you have to be to convincingly fake
a Spanish accent?
Yeah.
Just like who am I thinking about? I'm thinking about the Baldwin's wife,
Yeah, I forgot her name.
Hilaria.
Hilaria?
Hilaria
Yeah.
Baldwin.
Hillary.
For anyone who's not listening to this, it's kind of hilarious. It's basically like a girl from the East Coast America, and she's like pretending to be from like a Spanish background, but
Yeah.
she's doing a pretty good job in my opinion.
Is she? Like when I first heard her, I kind of already know it was kind of odd sounding, but maybe it is convincing.
I think it's pretty good. Like she's doing a good job. But the problem is she's not Spanish.
But
She's
did
just
you-
from the East Coast.
Didn't she live in Spain for a while?
Yeah, and she came back with the whole Spanish persona.
Good for her.
She just didn't want to be another white girl from East Coast.
Yeah.
Wasn't cool enough.
So do you think there's a possibility that the callers were faking one?
Maybe if Hilaria could do it, you know.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to answer that one. So she gets this phone call, right? They tell her we want a $1 million house. The caller had a foreign accent, okay? And they used a fake name that was, I think, later somehow they knew that it was a fake name. I think as Lindsay was getting this phone call, she didn't know that the names were fake. Lindsay asked the caller how she had obtained her phone number, because this was a call made to her personal phone number. Lindsay also has a work phone number, but like a work phone, like a separate phone. The caller said that they got her phone number from one of her previous clients, but it couldn't really, I don't know if they ever like told Lindsay exactly from whom.
That's pretty odd. I wonder if she used to give out her personal number to clients, because it shouldn't be a thing, right?
Yeah, even if it was one of Lindsay's previous clients.
You have to have like some sort of closer relationship.
Exactly. Would Lindsay give her personal phone to one of her previous clients? I don't know. So the caller said to Lindsay that the couple would be arriving in Victoria in the next 2 days and they needed the house quickly. Lindsay thought that this was a strange phone call, so she told about it to her father and to her boyfriend, Jason. Jason encouraged her to meet with the client because there would be a pretty high commission when you sell a $1 million house. Jason also offered Lindsay that he would wait outside in his car to kind of ensure that everything's safe. Lindsay then went on and found a suitable property. I think she did not have any listings in her portfolio worth $1 million, but she, I think, contacted someone else who had. So she found several, I think, properties, and she had the whole, plan. She's going to show them several properties. So I think the place where she was murdered in, I think she had a plan to show us a few more places, later on. They agreed that they would meet up with her at 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, 2nd of February 2008. So I think also important to mention that if I understand correctly, Lindsay had multiple phone calls with this woman. Not just once, like she had multiple phone calls, because on Wikipedia it only says that she called once. Because you need multiple phone calls
definitely.
to arrange the...
Yeah, you can't set everything up with just one phone call.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy because I wonder if Lindsay ever took the kind of like... She definitely did, right? She definitely kind of had to take a look at the big picture thing. Okay, some people urgently need a house for $1 million. They speak kind of Spanish, and they got my phone number from someone that I don't even know who they got it from.
I'm not gonna lie, it sounds too good to be true.
It sounds crazy.
Yeah, it was, but like if we put ourselves in that time, it would sound way too good to be true.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's easy for us to say.
Yeah.
Because we know what happened.
Didn't she say something like that? Like
She
it
said,
seemed too good to be true.
She said it. She definitely said it. The house that she was going to show them was located on the Sousa Place Street. It was house number 1702, 1702. And basically, this is a small cul-de-sac that has 4 homes. But it's kind of connected to a street that has more homes. It looks like your typical kind of North American suburb. Big homes, driveways, cul-de-sac location. The neighborhood looked very nice, like very pretty North American, I would say, like suburb. To me it looks like a high-end suburb, but I've read some comments that it's kind of like high-end homes,
but not too high end. Would you say it's a little above average?
Yeah, what I was gonna say is it's high-end homes built around like not super high-end homes.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? It's like a mixed...
Mm-hmm. It's not like a fancy neighborhood.
Mixed neighborhood, but the cul-de-sac, it looks like all those homes look very, very nice.
I wonder why. It's because it's 1 million.
To be honest, I'm not gonna lie, this is a quick, like, off topic. I looked at the house right now, the same exact house, and it goes for roughly 2 million right now, because inflation. And after the murders, after the murder of Lindsay, the house value dropped by 15,000, so it barely moved. And it looks like it's still on for sale. I'm not really sure who's living in it, but like here in Lithuania,
300,000.
No, just for fun, I typed in the same amount that you could get this house in, in the middle of nowhere, Saanich, British Columbia. Who wants to be there? But I put the same thing here in Lithuania. You get in the capital, you get like a massive like penthouse in the street with like 2 indoor pools, everything. Dude, I would never buy this house for 2 mil.
I was even looking at it, and seriously, a good house here?
The
200K.
Same, let's just put it this way.
Euros.
Same house like this, I would say maybe 400,000 in Lithuania. 400, I would say 400,000. It's 200K would be smaller.
No, like, 200K would be like a good enough house. It's house, nothing fancy like that.
Yeah, the house that they were looking at, that's right now 2 mil. Here it's 400K. I mean, it just kind of shows the
it's insane.
Crazy inflated prices in, I guess, in all of North America.
I'm just kind of astounded that like a 1 million
house doesn't look like a mansion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you should see what's happening in California. It's probably even crazier. Anyways, let's go back to the story. So yeah, they agreed that they're gonna meet, and now let's jump to the day when it all went down. Lindsay and Jason ate lunch at a restaurant on the day when Lindsay was murdered. They paid the bills at 4:24 p.m. They left separately in their own vehicles. It is believed that Lindsay returned home to change her clothes before the property viewing. Jason, on the other hand, left in his own car to drive to a repair shop because one of his friends had left his car at the repair shop, as I understand, and he went to pick him up. This was a close friend of his. They were playing ice hockey together. He was running late to the viewing, and he basically texted Lindsay that, sorry, I'm running late, but I will be on my way. Lindsay texted back, okay, got to go, the Mexicans are here. At 5:38 p.m., Jason texted her again and told her, we're almost there, just a few minutes out. Although the caller who called Lindsay, the strange people who are arranging to meet Lindsay, the killers, the caller said that that only one person would arrive to the viewing. And I'm not sure if it was a man or a woman who was supposed to arrive, but at this time they arrived together. So to me, it almost feels like Lindsay, sorry, not Lindsay, the killers told Lindsay that only one person would show up because that way Lindsay would feel less threatened. Maybe. But then they both show up. There were two witnesses who saw these Mexicans. One person was a man. He stood at 6 foot and he had dark hair. There was also a blonde woman next to him wearing a distinctive white, purple, and black striped dress. Both of them have been described as being middle-aged, or like from early 30s to late 40s, like from 35 to 45. So, settle down type people. The witnesses saw that Lindsay had shook their hands as she met them, and to the witnesses, the way she shook her hands indicated that Lindsay had never met these people before. Jason and his colleague, his friend, arrived at the cul-de-sac at about 5:40 p.m. As they were driving to the property, Jason saw a figure through the glass of the front door. So the front door of this house had like a glass, sorta, you know what I mean, that you could see someone like behind the door. So he parked outside of the house, and he parked there for around 10 minutes, so from 5:40 to 5:50. And after that, he drove to another place and he waited there for another 10 minutes. So in total, after arriving at the place, I think it took Jason roughly 20 minutes to do something about it. You know what I mean? Because he first arrives at the place. He sees that there's a man behind the door. He doesn't really see anything suspicious, but he maybe thinks, okay, I don't want to go inside of the house because I don't want to interrupt the property showing.
Understandably so.
Yeah, very normal. Mm-hmm. He then spends 20 minutes kind of waiting around, and then after 20 minutes, he decides that I need to go back in because this is taking a very long time. He goes in and he looks through the front door glass window or whatever, and he sees Lindsay's high heel shoes lying on the floor somewhere in the corridor. And he thinks to himself, this is not normal because you don't need to take off your shoes during a property viewing. especially not high heels or something like that, So he thinks this is crazy. He tells his friend, and they both start panicking, as I understand, and they call 911. They call 911 and they explain the situation. They're like saying, oh, we're gonna try to get inside the house. Police is already on the way, because at this point, Jason thinks something's fishy is happening. So, Jason's friend, he manages to somehow go through the back of the house, like the backyard, and he sees that the back patio doors are completely wide open. And he tells Jason, "You come here and lift me over the fence." So Jason lifts his friend over the fence. The friend runs into the house through the back patio doors, which were wide open. He then runs to the front of the door and lets Jason in through the front door. Jason then immediately runs to the second floor master bedroom, and he finds Lindsay. Lindsay is dead. Lindsay was lying in a pool of blood, and Jason called 911 a second time, and this time emergency services were also requested. Lindsay was pronounced dead at the scene. She had been stabbed multiple times. There were no defense wounds, indicating that it was likely that she had first been stabbed from behind and had no indication of what was about to happen. She did not know that she was about to die, as we understand. None of her possessions had been stolen, and she had not been SA'd. So the motive is sort of unclear. It's not a robbery, and it's not, some sort of SA situation. So the motive is not completely understandable. Why they killed Lindsay, we don't know. And then the investigation started. When Lindsay's phone was checked, they noticed that Lindsay had pocket dialed by accident a friend. She made a phone call to a friend to whom she doesn't usually keep contact with at 5:41 p.m. This is suspected the time when she was killed, as she was getting attacked. Maybe she falls down on the floor. The phone accidentally calls someone. She had the BlackBerry. BlackBerry has like 1,000,000 buttons.
Yeah.
I could see how you pocket dial like everybody
Easy
on the contact list with that BlackBerry. So she pocket dials someone, and that's when they think she was killed. 5:41. The logbox on the house, apparently there was like a Airbnb type logbox on the house door that they used to take the key to the house. The logbox also had timestamps. It's an advanced logbox. The timestamp was 5:29. So if we think that she was killed by 5:41, it took them 12 minutes into the property showing to kill Lindsay. So I would say probably just enough
to go to the master's bedroom.
They probably showed the first floor, and then they went to the second floor. So that's when they probably killed Lindsay. So also it's worth mentioning, now let's bring our memory a little bit back. Remember when Jason first arrived at the house? It was around 5:40 p.m. because he was a bit late. So when he saw that male figure through the glass door, it is suspected that at this point the culprits were trying to get out through the front door, and potentially Jason's arrival spooked them, that they scrambled and left through the patio door in the backyard. This is why the back patio door was wide open. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, yeah.
So Jason and his colleague, his friend, were cleared. Oh yeah, sorry.
Wait,
Yep,
really
yep.
sorry. Just really quickly. Now I'm wondering. There's no way Lindsay would have locked the front door and lock herself with the clients, so they probably locked it themselves.
That's interesting. I think maybe as they saw Jason, they got spooked and they went through the back patio. Before they went through the back patio, they probably locked the door.
Could be, because there's no way, like, if I'm a real estate agent, I'm not gonna lock myself in with some random people.
But then what happened next was Jason's friend went through the back patio and unlocked it. So I assume that
They ran.
what I'm thinking about is that Jason's friend probably also touched that same key, potentially contaminating fingerprint evidence potentially left by the killers if they were not wearing gloves. But it seems like they were wearing gloves.
They were? Like, how would you show up without looking weird with gloves on? They probably wore it after the fact.
Yeah, because, okay, let's just jump to the investigation. Jason and his colleague, they have been cleared. Surveillance footage from the auto shop actually proves that they could not have committed the murder. Jason has been interviewed several times over the years and has always cooperated with the police, and he passed a polygraph test. Jason is heavily suspected to be involved in the Reddit comments whenever you find a write-up on Lindsay's case. They always bring up how convenient it is that the boyfriend conveniently was late to his girlfriend's murder, and how everything just, according to Reddit comments, according to them, everything is perfectly aligned. Jason kinda conveniently is late, and there was also talks that Lindsay wanted to break up with him. Lindsay's dad even brought up some interesting information that allegedly Lindsay told him sometime before her murder that she had seen something that she wasn't supposed to see, and it was somehow connected maybe to the Xylo family, Jason's family. But this has been largely debunked, in my opinion. So I think I'm not going to focus on Jason a lot. What do you think about Jason?
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, I can understand why it's perfect timing for Jason, because it's not. It seems like a regular day. It's just my personal take on it. I could see how you would go to an auto shop and you'd be there a bit later or a bit earlier. Come on, we've been there today. And it's really not up to us.
We literally came back from an auto shop.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, you went there this morning and to just drop the car, but it's not really up to you. Like, I don't know, the mechanics could talk to you, could do some other things.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I just think it's just a perfect coincidence.
It could happen. It could happen for sure.
I don't necessarily think that, they're in this grand scheme of like plotting everything.
So you don't think Jason is involved?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
Mainly because he already called 911 before he went in. And then he called 911 again. And he was so willing to talk about it.
So Jason also, from what I understand, this is not verified, but I found it in the deep, like Reddit rabbit hole information sources. So this is like somewhere deep down there. Can't verify it, but apparently he held a celebration of life event at a golf club after Lindsay passed away. Seems like he was cooperating with police. Seems like he literally got affected by it. There was some TV coverage on the case. Some people think that Jason was not showing enough emotions when he was remembering the day. Like,
you can't judge grief.
Yeah, exactly.
People process grief in different ways. And to be honest, I've seen like a YouTube video of news, and they seem like they're portraying Jason a little in the bad light. It seems like they're being very biased, like, oh, it's him. So for me, it's just from the looks of it, and maybe an evidence would come out and prove that we're completely wrong, but from all of the information that we have, it seems like Jason was an innocent guy who unfortunately found his partner dead.
It seems that way.
It seems that way from what we know so far.
Crime scene had no DNA left behind. No DNA. There was an interesting line of thinking that witnesses saw Lindsay shake their hands. So they were thinking that maybe they could get DNA from Lindsay's hand. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, definitely.
And recently, I believe it was 23, either 23 or 21, so either like, a couple of years ago, police came out and said that the case had been progressed via DNA advancements. I'm not sure if the handshake is the key to solving the case, but maybe the handshake is the key. I don't know though.
I hope so. I'm kind of surprised at how the lady there did not drop any DNA at all. Like, personally, on my hair, a strand or two would fall out.
Oh, that's true.
It's gonna be so obvious that I was there.
Actually, that's a good point. And everything happened so quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me not a single, maybe
she was cautious enough to tie her hair up or something to make sure nothing falls.
So basically, if you see a lady with tied up hair,
no, not necessarily.
it's just bad news.
No, not necessarily. It's just that it could contain, the hair fall a little better than like letting it loose.
Because if you just leave one hair,
that's it for you.
I assume they could use it, right?
I assume so.
Yeah, they could probably use it to prove that you were in the property. Yeah. So law enforcement believed that the killers were leaving through the front door as Jason arrived, and they got spooked, so they left through the back door. They suspected the murder was very well organized and executed by people who had killed before. Also, neighbors reported that they saw the two killers approach Lindsay on foot. They never saw a car that they drove in to the location.
Oh, that's very smart.
So all of the cars that have been in the neighborhood had been accounted for, and all of the neighbors had been spoken to, as I understand. I looked a little bit at the maps, and actually someone on Reddit left a pretty interesting comment. They said that to them it looked like they could have parked a car next to this kind of football stadium close to the neighborhood, but not really, because that particular stadium was adjacent to a lesser trafficked road. Other than the road that was connected to the cul-de-sac, because that road had a lot of cars. So if the killers pre-planned this killing, they probably left the car there. Another interesting thing is that police suspect that the killers went to this house before the showing, and they planned the killing.
Ooh.
They planned their getaway.
That's a very interesting theory, yeah. But how would they know in advance, though? Did Lindsay send them the address or something?
Yes. Lindsay told them, probably sent them a whole list of properties that she was going to show them.
No, I meant like, did she send an address like, I don't know, 3-4 days in advance so they could plot it?
Maybe one day in advance.
Oh, it would be enough, right?
To me, it seems like the people that killed Lindsay, I don't think they had a 9 to 5 to do. To me, they seem like their whole life was about killing Lindsay for those 2 days.
I wonder why though, because Lindsay seemed like such an innocent person.
Yeah.
She didn't seem so shady.
No, not at all. Lindsay, from the information we have, has nothing shady going on. She did know shady people. We're going to be talking about them. But Lindsay herself was not shady by the looks of it, from what we can tell.
Yeah.
Also, the investigators believed that the murder was a very personal. It was a very personal murder, and it was planned by someone close to her. Perhaps someone who had access to inside information from her real estate office where she worked.
I kind of agree with that, mainly because they called her on her personal phone and not the work one.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really sure how it worked in Canada, but in here, we have a site wherein you could take a look at houses with pictures of them. And if you click on one, at the very bottom of the page, there would be a picture of the real estate agent, the name, and the contact details. So I'm assuming that if, for example, they were actually like killers who didn't know Lindsay that much, they could have just used that. If it's the same in Canada, of course.
That's a great point. By using Lindsay's personal phone,
Seems like they know more.
it makes them look even more suspicious to Lindsay.
Yeah.
And feels like a real estate agent phone number should be available online.
Everywhere. Right, but just the phone, work phone. Not the personal one. Who does that?
Yes, work phone. Yeah. So the cell phone that was used in the murder plot was purchased in Vancouver. Vancouver is very close to Victoria. You have to take a ferry boat across the river or whatever that water is, and you end up in Victoria after you cross the water. The phone was purchased several months before Lindsay's murder in Vancouver. Several months. This is one of the reasons why I'm not sure if Lindsay was a specific target. To me, the fact that the phone was purchased several months before the murder kind of indicated that maybe they just wanted to kill someone.
Maybe they were trying.
But not necessarily Lindsay. They just wanted to kill anyone, like a random victim. Maybe. I could be wrong here, though. When they bought the phone, because apparently I looked it up in Canada back in the day. Then and now even more so, you can't just buy a phone SIM card. I think in Canada, you need to provide your name and your address, at least back in 2008. Because, here we're kind of used to just, you go to the kiosk and you just say,
Just grab one.
A SIM card, please. And then the kiosk lady is gonna reach under the table and she's gonna whip out a €1 SIM card. Basically, I could have 100 different phone numbers by the end of the day, but I'm not really sure if this is how it works in Canada, because from the story it seems like in Canada it's more strict. You have to say name and you have to say address. So the name that was given was Paulo Rodriguez, which is assumed to be a fake name.
Sounds Spanish though.
Yeah. And the address was a address of a business in Vancouver that authorities also think was just a random address. So no one's really verifying if these are real address. You could basically give fake information when you buy these SIM cards, so it kind of defeats the purpose to some extent. back in the day. Now I think you have to like verify, if I'm not mistaken. Someone from Canada could definitely correct us. The phone was deactivated soon after the murder, and it has not been used since. The cell phone tower pings showed that the phone traveled on the ferry from Vancouver to Victoria on the day before the murders. So I believe they called Lindsay initially from Vancouver, and then one day before the murder, they moved to Victoria. They most likely scoped out the killing location on February 1st and killed Lindsay on the 2nd of February, in my opinion. Authorities believe that the phone was used solely for the purpose of murder, and it wasn't used ever again afterwards. And this explains that the culprits had intention most likely to kill even months before they killed Lindsay. That's something to think about. Jason's family were investigated in connection to this murder initially, before they were cleared, due to a connection of a man named Joe DeSouza. Joe DeSouza was a property developer, and he was developing this land. Even the whole street was named after him, Joe DeSouza Street, because he was the guy developing those 4 homes in that cul-de-sac. Joe DeSouza is a friend and business associate of Shirley Zylo, who is Jason's mother. And part of the cul-de-sac was still under construction at the time of the murder. And Joe DeSouza was at the location 1 hour before the murder, supervising construction work on one of the other homes in the cul-de-sac. Police have stated that no one in the Zylo family is a suspect, but he never really stated if Joe DeSouza is a suspect. I don't think they consider him a suspect, but just because he was kind of like a property developer there, somehow initially maybe made police think that maybe Jason had something to do with it, even though I find very hard to believe how anyone would have motivation to kill Lindsay. Joe seems like just a property developer.
And I think, I don't know, I'm just sensing that whoever these killers were, maybe they're not even from around the area. Mainly because, first, the cell phone from Vancouver. And then, it seems like they don't have anything to lose. Because if it was Joe, he has so much to lose if he gets caught.
But I wonder, why would they, if it's a random killer from Vancouver, why did they pick Victoria? It's such a weird place.
Maybe that's the reason why they picked it. Maybe it's a quiet town. Is it even a town?
It is a suburb. Victoria is
It's still a city.
But it's small, especially the location where they. Maybe in Vancouver, they thought it would be too
Impossible.
Possible. I even saw someone on the Reddit bring up an interesting point. How, and I can't verify this because I'm not a local, but apparently in Victoria there is a problem with police jurisdictions. Apparently Victoria has 5 different jurisdictions, meaning 5 different police forces. I don't know if this is real, but if it's real, then that would maybe make it a easier place to commit a crime and get away, because there's going to be a bunch of different agencies kind of like not communicating well.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay. All right. So this brings us to 2 drug busts. Okay, there were 2 drug busts. As everyone knows with this case, I'm pretty sure someone knows what I'm talking about. There were 2 drug busts connected, potentially, to this case. In 2010, on NBC, detectives revealed that back in 2007, December, about 8 weeks before Lindsay was murdered, Lindsay had tried to contact a friend of her ex-boyfriend as she returned from Calgary. Her father lives in Calgary because I think her father and her mother are separated. So her father lives in Calgary in Alberta. It's kind of close, I would say. British Columbia and Alberta, they're connected. So as she was there, she came back. As I understand, she tried to make a phone call to a friend of her ex-boyfriend. So, her current boyfriend is Jason Zylo, but she had a ex, maybe from Calgary or something. Maybe not. And she tried to call a friend of that ex-boyfriend. Maybe they were friends. I don't know. Now, the problem is that this friend that she tried to call was involved in the largest drug bust in Alberta's history, where they seized, I think, 100 kilograms of cocaine. So a massive drug bust. Cocaine on the street would have been worth around $8 to $10 million. This was such a big drug bust that after the cocaine was seized, the coke price went up. And it's a thing, when the coke price goes up on the street, it means that a serious player had been removed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's supply and demand. If the coke price goes up, someone got hit. So this was a big thing, in the scene. These were big players that got hit. So they got hit, I think, over a course of like a pretty long period of time. But I think this friend also got hit like after, I think, Lindsay tried to call him. Kind of crazy.
After?
Yeah.
So she probably knew.
So she didn't know, apparently.
Wait. I read an article wherein Lindsay, I'm not sure. I didn't try to remember it. It was just a passing. I read it passively. And I believe she said something like, as long as it's not a drug user or something. Did you come across that?
I came across that Lindsay was anti-drugs.
I came across this thing where she said something like, "Oh, as long as it's not a drug user," in terms of relationship.
I think she said she liked Jason because he wasn't a drug user.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an interesting thing to say. It's not something that you would randomly just say, "Oh, I like a guy because he's not doing drugs."
To me, that sounds like she knew a lot of people who were into it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just... It sounds like she had an experience. It's not something a random person would say.
Yeah, you wouldn't say that, right?
Yeah.
Just randomly. So basically, how this all leads up to Lindsay's murder, allegedly, and I've seen some people online get behind this theory. I've seen a good amount of people get behind this drug theory, is that it was speculated Lindsay's murder had been ordered by a drug cartel, most likely from Mexico, given the Mexican accents of the callers, because at that point the cartel believed that Lindsay may have been a police informant, and her contacting that friend of her ex-boyfriend who was involved in this huge drug operation in Calgary, they thought, some people think that some Mexican cartel thought that we need to now kill Lindsay to send a message. To send a message that Lindsay, if you will talk to the cops, we will kill you. Police came out and said, after evaluating the theory, we don't think it was the case. Because to them, the attack seemed personal, and to them, and some media reported that the manner of Lindsay's murder was too personal. And this is where I've seen a very good article written by a Canadian, a good source, Capital Daily, who did a really good investigation, apparently, into Lindsay's case. And Capital Daily said that Lindsay's case has been misreported drastically in the media, and that Lindsay in fact did not suffer from like 50 stab wounds. It wasn't that many. And to be honest, the hit seems fairly professional to me, to the point where now I'm thinking this drug theory is not completely out of the question for me. I mean, it really looks like a professional hit when you take into consideration the phones were bought in Vancouver a couple months before. Like, everything was made to kill Lindsay, and
Lindsay didn't get to scream.
And think about this. Think about this for a second. If this was a random killer who just wanted to kill anyone, maybe just like that Lithuanian guy, why would they not pick someone from the internet who has their name and work phone number online?
Yeah, this is exactly why I also think it's more in the personal level, because I really have no idea how would you be able to have that personal phone number.
Yeah. Yep. This is why I'm thinking that this whole 2008 drug situation, I think it's way more likely than Jason. To be honest, Jason is ruled out, in my opinion.
Yeah, actually, I just had a thought. What happened with that client, the last client, that the caller claimed gave them the phone number?
I don't think any client really gave them the phone number.
They just obtained it.
They obtained it. How would they obtain it? I don't know. Maybe through somehow someone gave them the number, that this is, the friend of the person who was involved in the drug operation. Maybe they somehow saw on the phone that it was Lindsay who was the last person to call him before he got hit, or like one of the last persons.
Maybe. And hey, if the cartel was involved, then yeah, I'll step away, because I know they're just way too, I don't know, they have their little tentacles, not even little tentacles all around.
Well, not here, but...
Not here, but just there in that part of the world.
Yeah.
Maybe here, well, we don't know.
Well, I mean, to some extent all over the world, right?
Yeah.
I will say that the last thing about this whole situation that doesn't make sense to me, why would Lindsay be an informant?
Maybe she was just mistaken as an informant.
But why would you mistake Lindsay as an informant? She has no connection to Calgary. She's from British Columbia. She has a normal job, and she doesn't have a criminal record. Would they just see, oh, someone called this guy, and then he got hit. Police found out that he's part of the drug operation. So do you think maybe they thought that the guy who got hit on the police operation, during that conversation with Lindsay, incriminated himself enough for police to catch him? I will also mention this. Lindsay knowing some 100-kilo cocaine drug dealers from Calgary is also kind of weird.
Definitely. It also makes me question now. Maybe she was involved in things we don't know about. I'm not saying drugs or anything. Maybe she managed to meet shady people in an innocent way and be friends with them. Maybe she had, like, I don't know, friends that were secretly
in that life.
Yeah, within that circle. that we just don't know about. And that's why she got involved ish. It's something we'll never know, unfortunately.
So there was another drug bust potentially connected to Lindsay's case, but I think this is a very much of a less likely outcome. So I'm just going to quickly read through the information. There was also speculation regarding another drug bust was also investigated as a link to Lindsay's murder. One man's phone had been tapped because of his high level of involvement in the trafficking and sale of narcotics in British Columbia and Alberta. During the wiretaps, law enforcement uncovered information that led to the British Columbia legislature raids in 2003. This was when search warrants were executed in 2003 on the British Columbia Parliament buildings, brought to light questions considering the propriety of the sale of railway company BC Rail, British Columbia Rail. Ministerial ADs Dave Buziak and Bob Work pleaded guilty to breach of trust and receiving a benefit for leaking information about the BC Rail binding process. So far this is confusing, but give me 1 second. According to the police, in 2003, the police were monitoring Ministerial AD Dave Buziak's conversations on his home, government and cellular phones, as well as his emails. At that time, the police were focused on breaking up a marijuana and cocaine smuggling ring between British Columbia and Ontario that was ran by his cousin Jising Buziak. During the police investigation of Buziak's activities, investigators became interested in his dealings as a ministerial assistant to then Finance Minister Gary Farrell Collins. A second investigation was launched that had no connection to drug-related activities, but rather to the sale of benefits in regard to the tendering process for the sale of BC Rail. Okay, so what's happening here? So in human language, what's happening is that there was a guy called Dave Buziak, okay? He had a shady cousin called Jising Buziak. So Jising Buziak was a drug dealer. They were first looking into Jising Buziak because they knew he was a drug dealer. They just needed to get some proof. So they were also listening to Dave Buziak because he was the cousin. So at first, Dave Buziak was just a government employee. He had no connections to nothing. So as they were investigating his cousin Jising Buziak, they were like, man, this Dave Buziak also kind of suspicious right now. Let's take a look at his stuff. So they look at his stuff and they find, oh man, this guy is kind of involved heavily in the sale of BC Rail. This is not drug related, this is government corruption. BC Rail is like a rail company in British Columbia. And apparently, Buziak provided insider information of how many people are bidding this and that for the company. Because I think at that point, the company was maybe like a private company, but like a government company, but someone wanted to kind of buy it from the government. So Buziak gave them the rates, like, oh, these people are offering this much, because, it's like an auction. Who kind of says the biggest bid wins the company, but I think the bids were not public. So the Buziak guy, he kind of made the buyers aware of how much other people are offering, so they didn't have to like shoot in the dark with a huge sum. So they shot in the dark with a smaller sum, and they got the BC Rail Company. It's probably confusing, but this is how they're thinking that basically during the drug investigation of Jising Buziak, one of the people that were investigated was the former boyfriend of Lindsay. And I think this is the same boyfriend whose friend was the guy who got hit in 2008 with the 100-kilo case from Alberta. I know it's probably confusing.
No. It makes sense. I must say, though, whoa, you went into a rabbit hole down there. Wow.
I mean, this is all on Wikipedia. I didn't even have to go far. This is all in Wikipedia.
No, I meant you went far. I know it's all in Wikipedia, but damn. I just have to say damn. But, and the next thing is that it's kind of odd. Like, why would they take it out on Lindsay? She seems like a pretty far away connection.
And at that point, Lindsay was 19.
Barely a connection.
That's why I wanted to kind of run through it, because I don't know about you, but I don't find it convincing.
I feel like it's a bit of a reach.
It's a reach.
Yeah, it's like, it's trying, but I don't see it.
And this leads us to our last clue of the day. Our last clue of the day is, to be honest, the freakiest. It's definitely the freakiest. It's definitely the one that got me thinking, what the hell?
Is it just a random psycho?
Nikki.
Okay.
Nikki was a friend, female friend of Lindsay. So there is this Nikki. So Nikki got a phone call in the middle of the night. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember now.
Nikki got a phone call in the middle of the night later on in 2008, on the same year that her friend Lindsay Buziak was murdered. You know, the person who we talked about for like, I don't know, like an hour and a half or however long we're talking about this case. And Nikki said that she doesn't remember what was discussed on the phone call in the middle of the night, but the person calling her was a woman with a strange Spanish Mexican accent that looked fake. Next day she wakes up and she's like, oh my god, that's how Lindsay got killed. So I need to call back this person and, I don't know, find out more about him. Is this a potential killer? So she doesn't report it to the police. She's like making phone calls to this unknown number who called her at the middle of the night. And after 30 phone calls, Shirley Zylo picks up the phone call. Apparently, this is what Nikki said. You remember this?
Yes.
Shirley is the mother of Jason. Jason is the boyfriend.
Very creepy, by the way.
And Shirley tells Nikki that, oh, sorry, I was calling another Nikki, my assistant Nikki. And then the friend Nikki was like, okay, but how do you have my phone number? Like,
yeah, that's so random.
I don't know you. How do you have my phone number? And Shirley explains that, oh, maybe Jason put it in my phone. And that's it. And that's where this like clue ends.
That did not make sense at all.
That Jason put Lindsay's friend's Nikki's phone in his mom's phone. Maybe
and
because
conveniently, the assistant is also Nikki.
Maybe it's because at some point Jason was borrowing his mom's phone and was trying to call Nikki. Because I don't know if Nikki and Jason, if they knew each other. But one way or another, it's bizarre. What happened next is that Shirley Zylo denies that this ever happened. So we have either Nikki is lying.
There must be phone records, no?
Either Nikki is lying or yeah, I don't know how it played
One
out.
of them's lying.
No, it's either Nikki lying or Shirley literally calling Nikki middle of the night with a Spanish accent. So I don't know what to believe. To me, it seems like Shirley Zylo looks like a pretty regular, like real estate person.
I'm not sure if you came across this. Probably yes, but wasn't there an article that kind of claimed that they're a little bit on the controlling side?
I don't think so. What did they say?
Something like Lindsay was about to break up with the boyfriend, and the mom of the boyfriend, Jason, they bought them a house or something.
So this was also fake. According to Capital Daily, the media company that did a good investigation, this was fake.
Really?
The house was never bought for Jason and Lindsay.
Oh, that's crazy. There's a lot of misinformation in
Everywhere.
this case.
Apparently, Capital Daily said that everyone is messed up right now. They're all saying not correct information. That Shirley Zilo never bought the house for them specifically.
But she bought the house.
She has the house. It's her property. And apparently it was never intended to be like Jason's and Lindsay's.
Maybe there was an intention. Maybe there was an offer.
Maybe.
Maybe there's like, okay, if you guys want to live together, you could stay there or something. Maybe.
And I think, to be honest, at this point I ran out of information.
That's a lot of information.
There's a
Good
lot of
job.
information. There's like a lot of stuff to talk about here, but I don't know if we should. At this point, I think we should like just say what you and I think. So for me, when we talk about like Lindsay's case, it's kind of weird for me. The weirdest things about the case personally is the fact that they used her personal number. I don't know how that played out, and I don't know how they got her personal number. It's pretty weird. The fact that they bought the SIM card or something like that 2 months before the killing, to me seems like it's I don't know if it's necessarily for Lindsay's murder. Maybe it is. I don't know where exactly they bought the phone SIM card. Maybe they bought it 2 months in advance because maybe they were hoping that the CCTV cameras that would catch them buying the SIM card at that place would record over each other. Because you know, like how CCTV footage only keeps footage for like a month. Maybe that's why they bought it 2 months in advance, so that they would be not caught on CCTV.
That's a very good point.
And I'm still not sure if Lindsay was specifically targeted, but if police came out and said that they think Lindsay was targeted by someone close to her, I'm kind of also then have to lean towards it, because I mean, we have to go with what the police is saying, right? They have way more information than us. So let's say it's a personal killer who personally wanted to kill for some reason Lindsay, but Lindsay seems like a very normal person. Who would want to kill Lindsay? Like, what do you think? Who would kill Lindsay?
I don't know. She seemed like a regular girl who literally took that 1 million kind of sketchy OLH house viewing because she had like a purpose, a sense of a goal, basically. She wanted that commission, obviously, but it did seem like she's just doing it out of innocence. I don't think she's involved in anything drug related.
I'm also thinking the friend that got hit on the 100 kilo case, 100 kilo cocaine case from Alberta, Lindsay called him on January 22nd, if I'm not mistaken. Or did he get booked on 22nd?
The police got her phone? Nothing was stolen, right?
Just give me a second. When did they? On January 22nd, largest. Okay. Oh, yeah. This is good. Because you know why this is good? Because the drug bust happened on January 22nd. The 100 kilo case broke on 22nd of January. The phones were purchased 2 months before Lindsay's killing. Lindsay was killed on February 2nd. From January 22nd to February 2nd is 10 days. The phones were purchased even before that. So my logic is that the phones in Vancouver, or like the phone in Vancouver, was bought before the 100 kilo Alberta drug bust. So if it was Mexican cartel killers, they wouldn't have a reason to already pre-plan Lindsay's murder
True.
even months before the drug bust came after it. So I'm thinking it also could be that if it's drug bust related, then maybe it was a person who was buying a bunch of these burner SIM cards for their future shady dealings that they will have to. And then one of the dealings was a hit on Lindsay because she, cooperated with police, which we know she didn't. It's a confusing situation, man. What do you think?
It's a very complex
what
situation.
do you think happened? Let's finish this thing. What do you think happened?
I would go with the simplest one. Someone who knows her personal phone number or managed to find it. I don't know if it's related to drugs, and maybe it is. It's extremely shady, but whoever it was knows her better, or at least knows how to get information. Do you get what I mean?
I get what you mean. I really get what you mean, and I'm with you on this one.
It could be someone, just a psycho, but how would you even get a personal phone? That's my problem. Is like, maybe our audience would, maybe they know, maybe you were missing something out, because I can't find your phone number on the internet.
Nope.
So
it's
yeah,
not there.
For me, it's just really odd how someone managed to get her personal phone number and not the work phone. If it was only the work phone, I'd be like, yeah, it could be
Psychos.
a psycho, same as the one here in Lithuania. But it's just too weird how they managed to obtain that information. It's also weird that there's two of them. A man and a woman.
Yeah, so let's wrap it up. I think enough speculation for one day.
Definitely. This
thank
is
you
really tough.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening to the podcast, and we will talk to you on another one.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Maybe you have more information about it. Maybe you have your own take. Please let us know.
Let us know, guys.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.